Today I have a Sony TCD5. This is a professional portable stereo cassette recorder, very popular with radio reporters back in the 1980s and into the 90s before everything went digital. This one here is not operating properly. It's not fast forwarding, not rewinding, not playing. Guy thinks it's the belt. He'd send a whole belt kit, but it was much more than that. As you guys can see, I put that SX240 into service as my test, my bench test unit with a few more features. Now I can take advantage of multiple inputs. I've got my MP3 player on the VCR line input, the tuner, got the phono input, I got tape on here, and I've also got an output so that I can record directly to my camera when I'm doing tape deck testing. Anyway, I figured I'd show you guys where I put it after fixing it in that last video, and it actually sounds pretty good here. Might help if I actually turn on my bench power. So I got my little test transmitter. I can also pull stuff off of this, which is also royalty free, but I've got my loop through on here. Phono input. I don't have anything on the CD input yet. I do have tape one with the tape out and record in, so I can test the tape deck, record from multiple sources, and I'm not using the tape monitor 2 input on it yet either. But yeah, it sounds pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it, how it's working out so far. Anyway, I just figured I'd show you guys where that unit ended up. The Sony, you'll see at a future date when I get into repairing it. But for today, I have one of these, a TCD5M tape recorder. This was a professional tape recorder sent in by one of my viewers. So today we are going to take a look at this one and see what is wrong with it. I was also sent one of these silicone BGA maintenance platforms. I've never used this thing. I got shipped this thing. I don't even know who shipped it to me. Probably some company that wanted me to promote it for them. But I got sent this thing months ago. But you know what? It'd be perfect for working on this on, because this unit looks to be almost mint and we don't want to scratch it. So I'm going to work on this nice silicone workstation. We'll tear this one apart. I can just see this thing messing with the color balance of the camera and really messing it up. So maybe I'll put the camera in manual white balance mode, because I can just see the color. The color is just starting to go downhill right now because the camera is seeing all this blue and it's going to mess with the color. So let me just do a manual color balance on this thing. Okay, now all the blue in the picture is not going to mess with the color. First thing we'll do is we'll pop the bottom off this thing and see what shape it's in. It needs belts. As far as I know, it needs belts. We'll take off this little battery cover. And that just opens up like that. Common thing to break on these, by the way, was that. This one, let's say the last one of these I had, that was broken. So this one here is in really good shape. And anybody that knows anything about these machines, they know what the capabilities were. These were a professional tape recorder. They would record every bit as well as most home decks would. Thing about this thing is it stinks. Like I got this thing, it was sent to me, and as I say, I don't even know who sent it to me. It just arrived in the mail one day. I wasn't expecting it. It just arrived, and I didn't know what the heck to make of it. I don't know who sent it. And when I opened the thing up, the thing was off-gassing so bad that the smell from this thing, it's not so bad now. It's because it's been sitting around for like almost a year. But the thing was off-gassing so bad that it was, I was having an allergic reaction to it, kind of like I have with around pollen and stuff. I was sneezing, and it was horrible. The smell that came off this thing when I first got it, which is, I guess it's silicone, but it must be, it's anti-static, right? Magnetic? It says it's magnetic. Is there a magnet in this thing? I think there's a magnet in this thing. Sure enough, there's a magnet in there to hold screws. But not in that one, just this one. That one's got a magnetic screw holder. Cool. It's got all these little places to put parts. If you're working on surface mounted parts, you can put all your parts here and just start mounting your parts one at a time, right? And anyway, that's kind of cool. Leave your tools up there. It's kind of a neat little workstation, actually. But as I say, when I first got this thing, it just reeked. Like the smell that came off this thing. It's not the only thing that stinks though right now. Some of the stupid hand sanitizer, you walk into a restaurant and they say, please use our hand sanitizer before you come in. And some of the stuff that they have has got the most gross smell. You put the stuff on your hands and then you're not even appealed to eat because your hands stink of this hand sanitizer. And that happened to me today. I went out for lunch and I walked into a place and it was just a takeout place, right? But they said, oh, you got to use hand sanitizer. And I just washed my hands, but I had to use their hand sanitizer because that was their policy. And yeah, it was just gross, just absolutely disgusting. Okay, first things first, I'm going to put some batteries into this thing and just see exactly what it's doing. This is a disk drive unit, and there's a belt in here that drives the reel tables, and it may be the belt that's failed on this one here. But we'll see whether there's anything else wrong with it. Let me grab a couple D-cell batteries. I should have some of those kicking around here. In fact, I know I do. I have a whole bunch of D-cells because somebody sent me a box. Now you may wonder why I've hidden the name of these batteries. The reason that the name is obscured on these batteries is that they're house brand batteries to someone that sells them, and I don't want to I didn't accept these as a gift or anything. They just arrived. People sent me stuff all the time, and the company sent me stuff wanting their name shown and stuff, and I don't do that. I don't show companies' names unless I'm in a cooperation. There are some companies I do cooperations with, like when they sent me a dash cam to do a review on, and they haven't paid me or anything. They just give me the dash cam, and once I've done with it, I turn around and I sell it, and that's the end of it. And I have several companies that repeatedly send me stuff to review, and I do the reviews on them. But when I get unsolicited gifts such as the box full of batteries by someone who wants their brand name shown on my channel, they're going to use that as advertising. They're not paying me to advertise for their company or their website. Therefore, I'm not under any obligation to show the brand, and it's a brand of battery that's got their name on it. So yeah, that's why they're covered up, for no other reason. They're brand new. I say I got a box of them, and I'm just not going to show the brand of the batteries because I don't want to promote. I don't want to promote them. I wasn't paid to do a promotion. If the company or the person that sent me these said, here's some batteries, and you know, and here's some money to show them on your channel, then I'd say, sure, no problem, I'll show your batteries, and I'd have to check the little box that says this is a paid sponsored commercial or sponsored video. And I don't want to do that because that limits the advertising revenue. It limits the pool of advertisers. So I don't like to do that. You know, and even the ones that I do reviews on, I never check the box just because I don't feel that I've been paid. They haven't paid me to do the video. They've just given me the product and said, here's this, do a review on it and do with it what you want. And say everything that I get, I don't keep, or very little. I keep most of the stuff. I turn around and I sell and get rid of it. So this one here is, okay, the motor's turning. It appears that the head is jammed. It's not extending all the way. And it's not going to rewind or fast forward. But the motor is turning. You can see I don't know if you can see it or not, but I can certainly see the capstan is turning. So we know that that part works. So let's check the belt. I have a sneaking suspicion the belts are probably shot on this one. So to get to the belt, I have to remove the circuit board. So we're going to remove the 4 screws that are marked with arrows. And of course, they're in tight. That's where my little Sony screwdriver that my daughter was so wonderful to break. You see, it doesn't work because I glued it, but the glue doesn't hold. And these stupid screwdrivers I bought, well, they don't, you can't get enough grip on them. So, the Pick Quick to the rescue. Use this one to break free the bond. And then I can now use this one to remove the screws. We'll put those screws in their own little separate container. You'll probably see this thing a lot more. Now that the stench of the whatever they had in here, whether it's the anti-static compound or whatever was making this thing smell like a donkey's rear end, it's not stinking, so I can tolerate it today. Don't ask me where I came up with that donkey's rear end either. I think it's because somebody in my neighborhood has a sign. I guess there's a problem with people speeding. They have a sign that says, slow your, and then it's a picture of a donkey, down. And they leave it out on the road. I have to pass it every time I leave my house. Okay, what am I missing here? I think there's probably another. Oh yeah, there's one more screw right in the middle. How did I miss that one? And we basically have to remove all of these little pieces of tape that hold these wires down. See, they did it right on this. They didn't put that stupid circuit glue in place that goes bad. They did it right with these little pieces of adhesive tape. And the reason why is because gluing them down would have been bad. You have to liberate these wires because we need the slack for when I lift the board up. That's why they've put extra long wires in here, is because when the board gets lifted up, we need that slack. So they tape them down so that you can untape them to gain access under the circuit board. I think I may have to unsolder these two wires if I'm not mistaken. I have to remove the two wires that go to the battery. This is the DC to DC converter. So it takes your 3 volts that comes out of the batteries and it generates plus 9.5 and minus 9.5. And a common area of failure on these is if the unit gets dropped, because this DC to DC converter has a transformer and so forth in it, it's heavy. So quite often it will sever the traces around here. So if you have one of these units that's dead and doesn't work, check for a broken trace around here. And I've had that before. In fact, I think the last one of these I had sent to me, that's what the problem was the little circuit board here. There was a crack. I think it was right around here too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just waiting for my soldering iron to warm up. We're going to unsolder the yellow and the black wire, and then I should be able to lift up the circuit board. So it's always, never pry, right? Always just lift very, very, very gently, because these will come up very gently when they come out. Okay, belts look to be actually not in bad shape on this thing here at all. There's 3 belts in here and they all look to be okay, but they probably need to be changed. That one there, and there's one down here. And there's one over here, and it just so happens that I should have the belts for it because the guy that sent me this sent me the belts. Sent me 2 packs of belts. So I should have the belts to replace this unit. Although I think it's more than the belts that are wrong with this, because the tape, when I press down the forward button, the head doesn't come all the way out. Like something is sticking it. Yeah, something is sticking that head. What is it hitting against? It's like it's hitting against something up in the front here. Well, we'll change these belts out to begin with, just because I have them, even though these ones here don't appear to be in too rough a shape. They're not all stretched all to hell like some of them are. So we'll start by removing the motor bracket. I should take this tape off here too, because I'm going to need this slack for these wires. Okay, there's a couple screws that hold this in place. There's one there, I think one over here, and that one. And that'll remove this bracket. And then the motor will lift away. Or lift out of the way, I should say, to reveal the belts, this belt anyway. And I should be able to change all the belts from this vantage point here. Get this belt out of the way, over here. Let me get my light in there so I can see what I'm doing a little better. This belt loops around like that. And it loops around this pulley at the back. There's one. The other one is this one here. This loops around this pulley. And around this pulley over here. More tools. Okay, those are those 2 belts. We'll change those 2 ones first. That should be, I think, it's these ones. So we'll start with the smaller of the 2, which went around this pulley here. Get that one out of the way for now. Okay, it's around the pulley here, this groove on this pulley, and around this one, and when it turns, you can see the other idler turning there. So that belt is in place, and then the second belt that was in that package would be this one over here, which goes around this pulley at the back here, and goes around to here. So we'll just... You got to be careful with this because there's a spring on here, so you don't want to pull this motor assembly out too far because there is a spring there. You don't want to stretch. So that one loops around the back side of that pulley, and bring it around the front here and around there. And it's in its groove now. And this piece goes back in. It fits over to this here. It fits down just like that. And then there's the third belt, which is going to be this one that's in this package here. I think there's only 3 belts in this thing. Looks like these are the same 2 belts as well. There might be another belt for the tape counter out in the front. So this drive belt goes around that pulley and around there, and it doesn't seem to be quite as thick as the original one, to tell you the truth. But that's the one that came in the package. Whether they're the correct belts or not, that I couldn't tell you. Motor goes back on like this.
And just a reminder, any screws that have got that green paint on it, don't touch them. They're factory set. You don't want to mess with them, ever.
So this one last screw goes down here. I'll be sure to put these in a little tighter with a proper screwdriver. Okay, that's the belts changed. Put the wire dressing back in. And then the board can fit back into place. But I don't think this is solving my problem. In fact, I know this is not solving my problem. This was sent in assuming that the belts were the problem. But it's not. I'm just placing the board back in so that I can operate the mechanism. See, the problem with this is the head doesn't go into place when you press forward. I don't think it's just the mechanism that's jammed either. I don't think it was just a belt that was slipping that caused the mechanism to be in the wrong position. But we'll reconnect the power supply and put the batteries in and run the motor and see what happens. And let's just take up this top piece here, because there might be another belt under here that's jammed, and that might be the one that's causing it, as the counter belt. Thinking about that, should be able to lift up the tray here. Again, screws that are in relatively tight. Remove the cover. See, at this stage of the game, I don't know exactly what the problem is. So we're now investigating where the problem might be. So remove the top cover. You got all the screws out of it here. There should be two more that I'm missing. Oh, one here, maybe three more. There should be a couple more on the side here that I can't quite reach. I may not need to take them out. Get that open. I'm going to take this piece out now. Lift the door out. And then I should be able to take out a couple more screws and lift out this part. And this piece should lift out somehow. What else is holding that? Oh, one more screw. And what else are we looking at on this thing? We're going to disconnect the speaker wires over here, just so that the speaker is out of the way. These were complex little machines, as you guys can see. Where is the head jamming? Okay, that's working on a rewind now. Oh, that counter's turning, so the counter belt's okay. What was it jamming it? It's not going into fast forward or forward. I think it's something with this auto stop lever over here. It's sticking. I think that lever is where it's sticking right there. That was just jammed. And I just freed that up. Okay. Okay, now it's going into play and the head is engaging all the way. That's the auto stop lever, that. So what this does is if the reel stops turning, that should kick, and there we go. So that's working now. Fast forward's still not going into fast forward. Motor stops. Now if I stop this, what happens? Motor stops. So it's only forward that uses this mechanical lever. If I stop it, it kicks it out. But now the forward's working. Now I just got to figure out why fast forward's not working. It's going to be a lever, I think, that's sticking still somewhere on one of these pins. Is maybe some lubricant that's dried up, because that should pull it down onto this. It's this lever here, I think, is sticking. That one right there. Yeah, that's the lever that's sticking. Okay, now we know where it's sticking. We just have to figure out where to lubricate. It's this lever right here. It's not moving over far enough. Okay, into the bottom of it we go again. Okay, the problem is this idler here. This idler's got two parts to it. It's got the tire on the top, it's got a tire down below. It's this tire right down in here where I'm pointing with the screwdriver. That tire is not making a good grip to the actual tape hub when I put it in fast forward. Even with the DC to DC converter disconnected, that's just to power the amplifier. The motor still runs. If I go to put it into fast forward, you can see the unit is turning, but it's just not making a connection to it. Play works because it's a different idler. But fast forward is not doing anything. I just want to lift this idler out just to take a peek at it. Of course I got to take out this bracket again to do that. Or at least loosen it off. This is the little tire here that's giving me the trouble. That's the one that pushes up against the disc, the drive, and actually turns it. I'm just gonna take the edge off of this, take the sheen off of it with some fine grit aluminum oxide paper. We don't want to take off any rubber, we just want to try to remove the surface of it slightly because it's slippery. I'm going to give this thing a liberal dose of rubber renew to soften this up, just to try and make it a little more sticky. And clean the metal rim that this pushes up against and drives. It's a metal piece. We're going to clean that off, make sure there's any lubricant or any grease or oil or anything that's dripped onto the hub. We want to lubricate this piece here. This is it's a pivot, and sometimes it can get gummed up, and if it does, it'll reduce the amount of torque that can be applied to the idler. So we're just going to put some oil in here and let it soak in around this bearing here. Make sure that there's nothing gummed up in there, because that's a point where this does get stuck. That's nice and free. No indication of any sticking now. We're going to put a drop of oil onto the actual bearing itself, onto the post, and again, minimal amount, because you want it all to stay inside that idler assembly. Okay, we'll put the idler assembly back on here. And we'll put the washer and mount the motor again. Did I say cut washer? I meant washer and E-clip to hold the unit together. Yes, it did not clip on. You gotta be careful when you're working with these things, because if one slip and the thing's going to disappear. So you always gotta kind of shield your workspace with your hands so that if something does happen, you're not going to lose the clip. I think this is something that everybody has lost one of these once in their life or more times. I know we used to lose them all the time at the shop because the guy that did these wasn't very good. I had an assistant that did all the audio stuff, and he's an older gentleman and his eyesight was not very good, so he'd always be constantly losing little clips. All the time he'd lose them. And of course back then you could get these, so that wasn't a big deal. We just replaced it with a new one. See if I've made any change at all in how this thing operates. Do I have fast forward? I have fast forward. Excellent. I'll show you guys. Here, take a look. Fast forward. That was fast forward. There we go. And we have play, and we have rewind. Excellent. All right, let's put the circuit board back in and get this thing on its way to being at least at the testing stage. Okay, the board's mounted back in place. Get all these wires out of the way so they're not going to get caught into anything. And stick them back down. This tape might not work now. I may have to put some black tape on now just to stick these wires down. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to just have to use some good old electrician's black tape. So we'll just stick the wires out of the way. Cooled down for a bit of a change today. It's only 23 today. It's been like 25, 26. We peaked out there at around 30 one day, which is almost unbearable in the shop here to work. But it's cooled down a bit. They're calling for rain tomorrow. It's actually overcast today. It's quite nice, quite pleasant for working outside today. Okay, let's load the batteries in this thing. See whether it works. Fast forward works. Rewind works. We'll just try playing a different tape. That one there's just kind of a garbage tape, and I have to hook this up to the amplifiers. I don't have the speaker in yet, but let's just plug it into the sound system. And somewhere here there are This is the playback lines. Line out. Well, we're getting there. That take-up hub was a bit slow at starting there on playback the first time. But fast forward's working and rewind's working now. So far, so good. We're going to test record on this now. I'm going to put it in record, pause, and we can see that we've got music on one channel, but the right channel is not doing anything. I got no input on the right channel whatsoever. Let's just swap the left and the right inputs around here. So there's the left input out. We'll plug the right input into the left to verify that the right signal is working. The left into the right. We have no right input. When I plug a microphone, excuse the poor excuse for this as a microphone that I've got here. When I plug the microphone into the left input, hello, 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 we have audio. And when I plug the microphone into the right input, we have audio. So this unit has a problem still in the line input. So now we have to trace and find out where we're losing the signal going into the right line input. Getting a little bit more involved than when I first took this project on. It shouldn't be too bad because we know that it is processing a signal from the microphone input, just not from the line input. So hopefully it's just a broken connection somewhere between the right line input and the record circuit. I believe the problem is probably going to be on this top board here, as I think this is the mic preamp and the input board right here. The jack board, as they call it. So let's just pop the screws out here. We'll shut it off while I'm doing that. Because typically what happens is the line input and the mic input go into the same input. There's a preamp on the mic, but the signal loops back towards the mic jack so that it gets switched when you plug the mic in. That's typically what they do. They got this tape on here too, which is not good. This stuff also deteriorates and causes problems after a while. This foam tape. It's also been known to deteriorate, but let's just take a look under this board here. I'll flip this little circuit board up and take a look at the mic preamp and the line input, where it's going, because the line input should go to the mic. It should go down to the mic jack, actually, I think. Let's just see here where they go. It's the bottom one down here. Oh, it's the jack that's broken. Well, that's good. That's interesting. Take a look down here. You'll see it. What I'm getting at. The jack is actually broken. The center pin is broken off. Let's see if we can fix it. Hopefully, I can fix it. All these stupid wires in the way. You can't see anything. But I think if I zoom the camera in, you guys will see what I'm talking about. This is the jack itself. The jack's broken. Okay. I don't know whether I can fix that or not, or whether that jack is going to have to be replaced. I'll see if I can push that pin back in. But it's the center pin inside the jack here has been pushed through. Right? Center pin's been pushed through. You can see it missing, and while it's inside the unit. There's the problem. So, it never ends. Let's see if I can push this thing back in. It may get lucky and be able to push this thing back in and secure it somehow. May get lucky. On the other hand, it might be broken. We'll find out in a minute. There. I think that might hold it. Maybe. It may hold it. They just usually push together and pop together. Okay, line in and line out. See if we get sound on both channels this time. We have sound on both channels. I'll set my levels here and I'm going to make a recording. And we'll just release the pause. We'll make a recording here. Oh, level's a little hot. With the EQ on this receiver that I've got now. It's got an equalizer and it's kind of nice. Okay, let's rewind this tape. I'll switch over to the tape playback. Sounding good. These units here, I don't know if all of you are aware of this or not, but these particular units were were claimed to have the same type of sound quality as a home deck. Now, it's only got Dolby B on it, but it was claimed to have the same type of quality. Use a Sendust head. Could I think it supported metal tape. I'm pretty sure this supported metal on these ones. Or is it just chrome? It might only be chrome. Oh yeah, it does. It does support metal, right? Normal, ferrochrome, chrome, or metal. There's a switch here, so it supports all 4 tape types. Dolby B, noise reduction. These were really expensive decks, and a lot of these were carried around by reporters. They used the mono version for a while, and then when Sony came out with this one, a lot of reporters carried these recorders with them. A lot of radio reporters carried these recorders with them to go out in the field and do their field recording. Very well built, very desirable, these units. Even today, these are considered to be the pinnacle as far as portable recorders for cassettes went. They were fantastic units. That's why people want to spend money to fix these things, because they're a great unit. This one's now back functional. It's recording, it's playing, it's fast forward, it's rewinding, and it's now time to put this unit together and send it back. And the owner of this one will be, I'm sure, very happy to get his machine back to him promptly. To give you an idea what people are willing to spend on these things, it cost them $50 to ship it to me. And it'll probably cost another $50 or so to get it shipped, just the return postage. So he's into it $100 just for shipping. That's what kind of value people place on these units, plus the actual repair cost, because there's not a lot of us out here that still work on this type of stuff. This was, a lot of these ones were specialized, that only the Sony guys that were, that worked for Sony worked on a lot of these things, because they are quite specialized. This has got a capstan servo and everything. No problem with that. We had some idler problems in it. Oh, and I also did the play idler. You guys didn't see it because the camera was off, but I also put some rubber renew on the play idler here, which is that one there. When I had it apart to do the other one, I did it on this one as well. But you guys didn't see that because the camera wasn't rolling at that particular time. You couldn't see it because my hands were in the way. So I apologize for not showing that, but it was just a matter of putting some rubber renew on the play idler just to make sure that it has more than enough grip, which it does. It has plenty of take-up torque, and as you'll see when I press, if I hold the hub, the auto stop should stop it, which it does. Okay, let's put this one back together. There goes these ones I took out for this. And I think then the door goes on next. If I'm not mistaken, the door goes on next. Hook that into here. I was going to take my bike out for a ride, my Harley, and I stepped out front there. I was kind of looking up at the sky thinking, what's going on here? It looks like it's going to rain, and then I felt a drop of rain, and I kind of put that plan on hold. I don't ride in the rain ever. It's just not worth it. It's like this cover is kind of bent. And I gotta figure out which screws go where. That's a long one for sure. And that's it. No screws left over. Pins are all empty. A couple pieces of tape I didn't need to use. Do one final test on this thing. Verify it's all still working after it's been reassembled. Got a speaker on here as well. We'll do another test recording on here. Record. Set our levels. And zero the counter. Also has a limiter. If we turn the limiter on, you can crank the levels up as loud as you want and it's going to keep the levels in check, but the levels still do work. Rewind that tape back to zero and play it. And it should cut in any second here. being connected to an amplifier. You can play it back through the 2-inch speaker. There you go, this one's all done. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.